there's engagement in terms of doing some mapping of ridings and trying to support the NDP at that level. But there's a lot of diversity within the labor movement, and a lot of affiliates are doing their own work anyway. Affiliates such as USW and QP are fully with the party, whereas other affiliates such as Unifor now and PSAC and others try to nuance their message and talk about the issues, right? And look at the record of the various political parties and how we support them. So the NDP is no longer, in my view, the party of labor as it used to be. And not because I'm saying so, and not because there are different people in the labor movement or looking at them differently. I think there's a problem in the current positions that the NDP is taking with respect to acceptance of the neoliberal austerity agenda in this country. And I think we need to point that out. And if we do believe that they are friends of the labor movement and friends of working people, that I think it behooves us to actually become a lot more clear about our own independent vision, our own political vision. And in my view, if we have that vision that's clear, if we are engaged, if we're mobilized, if we're active, if we're militant, I think that can only support the NDP and help them to get elected on the basis of clear politics. So in my view, there is a need as well to address this particular issue. And there is a need to redefine our relationship to the NDP and not just to be the money bags for them when there's an election. Because we have record. The record speaks for itself. Certainly not at the federal level, although we can certainly point out to some of Mulcair's policies right now on free trade and taxation and other things. We can point out to BC, Ontario, of course, under Bob Rae. We can point out to Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia, where they've elected NDP governments and they did not deliver on some very basic legislation when it comes to protection of workers, unionized or otherwise. So I think we need to have that difficult conversation when it comes to our relationship with the NDP. And it's no longer good enough to just say, you know, here's our money and good luck to you, right? We need to engage them. And again, I really do believe that having a militant, clear agenda that Labour has can only support them to gain more seats on clear basis, not on because they're, you know, we've had this historic relationship and that's why we do it. When it comes to, and by the way, if I may just finish with one more comment, I do believe that the next election at the federal level is very important. Defeating Harper is crucial. But you know what's more important is understanding that Harper is only one elected government or one government of the neoliberal austerity agenda, and we need to make sure that what we defeat going forward is the agenda itself and not only the government, as important as it is to defeat Harper. But we don't want to end up stuck with another Harper that carries with the same agenda in a different name and in a different political party. There were two questions asked with respect to the splitting David, of course, my longtime comrade in QP, and Shiraz, of course. Both are important questions, the same question essentially, right? Asked differently. Who's spinning the vote, right? Am I the one spinning the vote, or is it Brother Hassan Yusuf who's spinning the vote? Look, when I started this campaign, Brother Yusuf was not there. I think it wasn't until at the end of the third week of my campaign where Brother Yusuf entered the race. And what you've expressed, both of you, has been expressed by other sisters and brothers and comrades right across the country as I'm going and talking to people. And it's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate question. If we do have a particular style of leadership and a particular leadership right now with the CLC that we want to move aside so we can open the door for different kind of organizing and a different way of building the labor movement, then why are you both running? I can tell you that I am happy to see another person get into the mix, if you will. It is fundamentally healthy to have those debates in our movement that we haven't had. So at this particular stage, I really don't think it is a negative thing to have 3 candidates and have 2 candidates, perhaps. We're still talking, and I can tell you, I'm talking to the Brother Yusuf camp, and we're having our discussions, and I've met with Hassan Yusuf himself a number of times, and we will continue to have these discussions. Matter of fact, we met earlier today. So those discussions are continuing. But it is fundamentally important to have them in the open as well. Okay, not only between him and I, and not only between various leaders of our movement together behind closed doors. This needs to come out in the open. And we need to arrive, if his campaign and my campaign are actually very close to each other, and we may be splitting the progressive vote, then I think that everybody needs to hear that message. And I'm very happy as well to say that Brother Yusuf is coming out with programmatic positions and a platform, okay, that speaks to a lot of the things that we're putting out as well, okay, and that is good. I want to have a debate. I want to have a debate with Brother Yusuf. I want to have a debate with Georgetti as well. And that, again, I will repeat, is only healthy for our movement. Because you know what? One thing I recognized, of course I knew it theoretically, but concretely it still hits you in the face. And I spoke about it a little earlier. The fact that there is the indignation out there on the part of some labor leaders for democracy is actually sickening. Because we go out and we lecture the powers that be. We lecture the Harper government and the Hudak and others about democracy. And now we have a campaign, of course, a lot of affiliates and we're our allies against the Unfair Elections Act that Poilievre and Harper have, right? But then when it comes to the practice of democracy in our own movement, well, you have to ask permission first. Okay? You have to tell them what you're doing. And it is not enough that you have a program out there. By the way, other than perhaps Brother Yusuf and the discussion that we've been having, none of the other leaders, especially those that are supporting Brother Georgetti, has engaged me and my campaign on the basis of the policies we're putting forward, on the basis of the politics, on the basis of the vision. All they can say is exactly what they said in 2005, we didn't pick you. And thank God you didn't. Okay? And so, we are continuing the discussion, but I want to make a correction actually. I don't know if you meant it when you said, and a question for you, that the two sisters are on the same campaign as Brother Yusuf. I'm not sure if that's what I know. My conversations with Sister Barb Byers and Mary Clark Walker is that they're running independently. They're not on Hassan Yusuf's campaign, they're not on Ken Georgetti's campaign, they're not on my campaign in terms of a slate. There are no slates, and if anything that happened as a result of me putting my name in, is that we blew up the slate. And that's a good thing. Okay, there's no more slates.
The main thing I was finding, there are other anti-Georgetti candidates running for programmatic issues.
Correct. Okay, no, that's a valid point. Yeah.
Or that piece.
Okay.
That's right. And you know what? They and I are talking. Of course, there's another brother who's putting his name forward, Brother Donald Lafleur from the Postal Workers. He's running for vice president, executive vice president position, and him and I have been talking as well. So the discussions are healthy, and they will continue up to and including the convention. But as far as I'm concerned, these discussions need to be opened up to the rank and file and to the membership and to the delegates themselves at the convention. Voting on resolutions is just a show of hand, but the voting for the various positions is a secret ballot. Having said that, however, we know, those of you who have been to labor conventions know that the powers that be try to tell their delegates how to vote and try to enforce it as much as they can. And at times they ship people in buses to come on the last day of the convention to vote and leave without being informed on the issues. These are all some of the non-democratic, if not anti-democratic tendencies that we have within our movement that I can tell you this time around, as far as I'm concerned, they cannot be hidden anymore. We're going to speak about them, we're going to expose them, we're going to put them out there. Right? But this is the reality within the labor movement. And it's also important to note, going back to the question that David asked, is that it's 50+1 right, in terms of who wins. So it's not like the one who gets the first, the highest percentage of votes wins right away. So there is a way to perhaps work around the issue or address the issue of splitting of the vote, because I don't think any of the three of us are going to win on the first ballot. When it comes to young workers, we put out that paper, right? And the paper started with asking the hard questions, right? It's not only young workers that are being marginalized right now. It's all the equity-seeking groups. And so, but with respect to that particular paper that we put out, it started asking the hard questions with respect to why are we marginalizing them? Why do we tokenize them? We keep talking about them without actually providing them with the tools and the opportunity and listening to them, right? And that needs to change. And I can tell you that none of the, so far, I haven't seen it yet, none of the other candidates have addressed this particular issue head on. This is the future, okay? These are the leaders that, they don't need to be either tokenized or looked at as being imposters who are coming in trying to take over, or our movement, and I have full commitment to providing the spaces and to providing the opportunity for young workers to be engaged in a real way. And I can tell you the experiences that I've had, not only at CLC but other organizations. You were there when I was there. There was an attempt to shut down any opportunity, okay, within that particular, the largest affiliate of the CLC. There was an attempt to shut down the Young Workers Caucus from actually being active on the floor, and even when they were meeting on their own, there was interference in the proposals they were putting forward, okay, on the convention floor, okay, to the extent that they were even threatened at some times. So there are a lot of problems when it comes to dealing with young workers and other equity groups, and I can tell you this is manifesting itself right now, heading into the election, in the sense that there are some affiliate leaderships that are telling equity vice presidents, I'm not sure if it's happening to you as well, that unless they support a particular candidate, they will not be endorsed by their affiliate to go to the convention or to run again for their equity position. I mean, this goes beyond tokenism. Okay, I mean, we can accept tokenism. Goes beyond tokenism, because this flies in the face of any democratic process that we lecture people about. Back to organizing. Organizing, we say it that the organizing is the lifeblood of the labor movement, and organizing is very uneven right across the country and across different unions. I can tell you this, though, as far as the CLC is concerned, they've not addressed this issue as they should. And of course, the CLC itself does not have the actual members. It's no longer organizing the directly chartered locals that they used to in the past. But I do believe that the CLC has a very important role to play in terms of developing and working with all the affiliates on developing an organizing strategy. And I can tell you, when I worked at the CLC for the 3 years when I was there, that was a topic that the current leadership did not want to deal with or discuss or even start to debate internally. I was working on a campaign at that time against one of the so-called unions, the Christian Labour Association of Canada, which is essentially an organization that is an employer organization that much of what they do is raid another unions. Another, what we called them at that time, real unions. So as part of that work that I did, of course, we wanted to organize a coordinated strategy. And of course, my proposal at that time was to have a coordinated organizing strategy that goes beyond only confronting CLAC. But you know what, I was naive perhaps as staff at that time, and that was not to be discussed, because this is the work that only affiliates can work with. And this is the work that only affiliates can deal with. This is within their jurisdiction only. And that may be true at many levels, but at the same time, I do believe that the CLC has a role. And I think that the last time the CLC actually worked on developing an organizing strategy or campaign, and correct me if I'm wrong, was in the 1980s when we organized the bank workers. That was the last time that the CLC actually concretely organized or worked with affiliates to organize workers. And I think that the best way we can avoid, you mentioned raiding, and the best way we can avoid the conflict, and the best way we can enlarge and expand the density of organized workers across this country is to work together to develop that organizing strategy and have that hard discussion that we need to have in the labor movement collectively. In terms of the Ontario Federation of Labour scenario, I think the brother from OPSA, right, you raised. You know what? I mean, I've heard that before, and I don't think that would be the case, and I tell you why. At least that's my thinking, and this is at this particular stage. Certainly we are threatening all the powers that be, but I'm running from the grassroots. I'm not running as a candidate for this or that union, right? In terms of the OFL scenario, there were a couple of things that took place. Number one, that perhaps, and at least some people argued, that there was a lot of sectarianism that was included, that was part of this rift that took place between various affiliates. And this is why my appeal to the campaign of Brother Youssef and the campaign for Georgetti is that let's not get into the my union is bigger than your union. My union can beat up your union. We need to have a campaign that discusses the vision and the issues. Right, and in my discussions with Brother Youssef, of course, we are talking about certainly keeping that debate at the level of the politics as opposed to the sectarianism that can exist, and in my view, that may have manifested itself at the OFL itself. The other factor of the OFL, which is not present, at least when it comes to the CLC, is that the CLC itself and the president of the CLC played a role in the rift that took place, in my view, at the OFL. So when you replace or change the president of the CLC, then that actually can help the situation in Ontario as well, as far as I'm concerned. Moving on, Cynthia, of course, and George spoke about the migrant workers and working class and migrant justice movement, and these are not only important issues. I think, of course, it's big time in the news right now, but it's not only an important issue, it is a crucial issue that we need to deal with. Okay, it's a crucial issue as well that touches on international solidarity because of the exploitation of migrant workers, not only in Canada but right across the world. And of course, I come from the Middle East originally, and the exploitation of migrant workers in these countries is perhaps the highest. And it scares me that we are getting to a place in Canada where that is getting to the extent that it is at today. The problem we've had in the labor movement, as far as migrant workers' issues, is that, and I'm ashamed of this reality, is that it becomes the foreign workers versus Canadians. Okay, to the extent that in some cases, if we see somebody who is not white working at a particular place, right away the assumption may be that they're migrant workers. Right, as opposed to born in Scarborough, and lived and but needless to say, that's beside the point as well. I think that we need to move away. We need to clarify that these are working people. We need to build working class solidarity on the basis of understanding that they are part of the same class as us, part of the same on the same side, and we need to organize them first and foremost, not view them as the threat, not view them as the other. By the way, this is what the employers want us to do. This is what the Harper government wants us to do. And unfortunately, some within the labor movement play into that. Okay, we can no longer do that, and we can no longer pay lip service. But that brings me back to an issue I raised earlier with respect to working with communities. Okay, you cannot understand the reality of migrant workers, okay, and even new Canadians without actually working with the communities. Because this is where you become paternalistic in the solutions that you propose. And you distance themselves from the communities and from their needs. So as far as I'm concerned, we need to work with, we need to support, we need to engage, and we need to debate and bring them closer to the fold of labor as opposed to view them as the outsiders. And furthermore, I do believe that as a labor movement, as a CLC, we need to take on those people who in our movement create that rift, and view this debate as being us against them or them against us, coming to take our jobs. This is thoroughly oppressive, racist debate that must be rejected. There's no other way around it, right? And there's no other way around it in terms of actually organizing and working within these communities. Of course, encouraging working class militant, absolutely. At a time when we are facing perhaps the greatest threat from the right and from bosses and from the corporate agenda, that is not only, by the way, is taking an aim at pensions and sick leave and working conditions and health and safety and wages and so on. It's actually right now the attack on the very existence of the organized working class. I mean, this is what it is. The attack is targeted the very organizations, okay, that we believe can lead the challenge to the corporate agenda, and that's why they're attacking us. Okay, they understand, I think perhaps sometimes more than we do, the capacity that we can have, the power that we have if we actually have a vision and we are actually militant. But I think we misunderstand and we underestimate rather the power that we can have. So absolutely, I think we're reached at a stage at a crossroad that if now we're not gonna fight and work differently, when are we? I mean, when we continue the road over the cliff, there is no other way around it. This is the time to, and I can tell you in my discussions with people, I've been going across the country, there is certainly a sense of a need for change and an increased militancy right across the board. And when I say right across the board, I mean our members, the rank and file, but also the organizations and the allies that we work with, that we, by the way, have also marginalized. So when I say take it back, take the labor movement back, or take it back, or take labor back, or take the CLC back, it's really taking it for all these groups, for the rank and file, for workers, take it back for women, for the LGBT, take it back for racialized people, take it back for people with disabilities, take it back for our allies, for the students, for migrant workers. That's what we need to take the labor movement back for. And I can tell you that there are allies out there who have proven themselves to be able to make change. And I'll give one example, and that is the example of the student movement in Quebec. Okay, they took militant action. They were in the streets week after week after week, right? And they were able to throw out the government. They were able to defeat the government, okay, through their persistence and their action. But what did we do at that time? We actually did not support them. Not only did not support them, we actually spoke against them, and we made sure that we're not in concrete solidarity with them. Okay, so that is shameful, and that needs to change. And we need to work with them and build a militant, not only labor movement, but a people's movement. We have a couple of pieces that we haven't even put out because they're still in the process of development. And development as in talking to people, and of course understanding what the Labour Congress is at and identifying what the problems are, but also making sure that these pieces are not being drafted by myself in terms of but being drafted and worked on, and these pieces come together as a result of a collective effort by people who are from these communities. Okay, so if we're talking about young people, okay, we need to have young people who are engaged, who are identifying the problems and the issues, and more importantly, the solutions, right? And the same goes for workers of color, for the equity agenda. All of these were identified, the issues and the solutions were worked on in a collective manner. That's why sometimes you have we started early, but we came out with a lot. And I can tell you there are a number of more pieces coming. One on international solidarity, you know how important this issue for me. One is on organizing, one on labor councils, and one on the role of education, popular education, in terms of raising the class and the political consciousness of members. So these are still being finalized now, and again, it's a collective effort. And again, if I may state just one point on the international solidarity, because it's important for me. International solidarity must never ever be viewed as charity. Must ever be viewed as a one-way street. It's a two-way street. And if you look at what happened in Bangladesh a year ago, okay, it is very much connected to the capitalist system that we're facing, okay, to the needs of quote unquote, the needs of corporations that are based in Western capitals to make the profit. And the only way they know how to make the profit is by destroying health and safety and making sure that labor is cheap in those countries. That's why they've moved from certain jurisdictions and regions to other countries. So the onus is on us not to only do international solidarity through a resolution. As far as resolutions go, are very important. I know Resolution 50 comes to mind with respect to boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. But it's a lot more than resolutions. It's a lot more than conferences. It's actually engaging in political campaigns to support the rights of sisters and brothers and comrades in other countries, but we do them here too, because the corporations that are abusing, whether it be workers' rights and people's rights and the environment and Aboriginal peoples right across the world, a lot of them are based here. And we have a responsibility to confront them here as we support our comrades in other countries to confront them as well.
Thanks. So, I want to thank Hassan for coming all the way from Ottawa and wishing him the best of luck in the convention.